Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another Monster Hunter video, and today I want to talk about collaborations. More specifically, some of the best collaborations we have had in Monster Hunter history. Because I will say, as much as I love Rise and Sunbreak, the distinct lack of sort of notable collaborations, I know we had some cool ones in Rise, but when you kind of think about some of the collaborations we had in World or previous games, there definitely is a lack of them right now. And honestly, it's something that I do really miss. I appreciate they probably are quite difficult to pull off. From a licensing point of view, it's probably not as easy as just Capcom saying, hey, we want to put so-and-so in our game. I imagine there's a lot of legal tape and stuff to jump through, so I don't imagine it is in any way, shape or form an easy job. But I will still say I do miss it. That was always one of my favorite things about Monster Hunter. When a new game came out, obviously you work through the content, fight the monsters, craft the armor or the weapons, and then you wait for the inevitable collaborations, which then followed, giving you some exciting things to enjoy. So they are definitely very missed. So today I want to highlight some of the best ones we have experienced. Of course, if I do not mention one that you guys think needs to be mentioned, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But to begin with, let's turn our attention to Monster Hunter World, which to be honest has given us some of the best collaborations. There have been some fantastic ones before World, but when you factor in that World not only gave us things like armor and weapons, but also gave us some bespoke quests around them with actually unique monsters, honestly, it was unmatched. One of the most noteworthy ones, of course, to start with would be the Final Fantasy collaboration in Monster Hunter World that brought with it Behemoth. This was fantastic because not only did it introduce a brand new monster, which in and of itself was very challenging, but it also brought with it some fantastic new mechanics. It was, for the first time ever in Monster Hunter history, a fight where you actually had a legitimate aggro mechanic. Sure, we will have monsters aggro to us, but the ability to actively be able to draw and maintain aggro in a fight was really cool. Pair that with the fact there were, of course, some interesting one-shot raid-like wipe mechanics, that definitely did result in a steep learning curve for a lot of hunters. Pair that with, of course, the fact you had a really good armor set, which was pretty busted on skills, fantastic weapon, and honestly, that was a really cool experience. However, when it comes to collaborations, they don't always necessarily have to be that grandiose. For number 2, I want to throw back to Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which had a slew of collaborations, so many awesome ones to choose from. Sometimes they were collaborations with other IP, sometimes they were just cool quests and stuff, but one of my favorite ones, of course, being a massive Zelda fan, was the Zelda collaboration. The fact that you could of course get Link's armor set and of course the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield was honestly super exciting. And truth be told, that was one of the things that I thought we may have seen more of, because when Rise of course released on Switch, I thought given that Monster Hunter was returning to a Nintendo platform, surely that would mean Nintendo collaborations. Alas, I was mistaken. Even if they could have just brought back some of the old ones, that would have been cool. But either way, being able to run around as Link and of course the armor set being fully customizable in terms of colors allowed you to do some sort of cool Four Sword stuff, having different color armor sets, but having Link's tunic and of course the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield was a highlight. However, on the topic of Nintendo collaborations, number 3 was of course the Metroid collaboration. This again was fantastic. Not only did you have a really cool Samus armor set with accompanying sound effects whenever you're moving around, but it also came with a bowgun as a weapon, which of course was Samus's blaster, and this bowgun did actually end up being pretty good. Maybe not necessarily one of the best ones in the game, but it was definitely a notable weapon that people could get some great value out of if you were a bowgun user. So this one, honestly, I did really enjoy. However, for the next one, of course, if we then throw it back to Monster Hunter World again, we then had the Witcher collaboration, which again was fantastic. Not only did we get a chance to play as Geralt, but we also had the fantastic, well, I say fantastic, depending on, of course, you know, how you enjoyed the fight. Some people may have found it incredibly frustrating, but Ancient Leshen definitely was a challenge, but also quite a unique fight for us to experience because it was a, effectively humanoid style creature to fight, which definitely felt pretty new for Monster Hunter. Again, when it first came out before they sort of patched it and nerfed it slightly, it was definitely pretty challenging. That Leshen fight was quite grueling, but of course getting out of that, the Geralt armor set and the weapon. The weapon was probably the highlight for me because honestly, one of the things that I was not a huge fan of in World was that when you started to get those armor sets that were basically complete sets and you couldn't actually customize things, it did of course limit the use case for them, but the weapon was fantastic because of course having a sword and shield where the shield is hidden, honestly any of those weapons, whether it be charge blade or sword and shield, where you use the weapon but the actual the shielding component is hidden, it just feels really badass to use. And on that note, we of course then also had the DMC collaboration, which again was another fantastic one. While I didn't have any sort of thematically fitting monsters, again, the idea of having, the Dante armor set, which was of course, interchangeable with different pieces, and having the weapon, the charge blade again being a weapon that the shield was hidden, so effectively, whenever you did things like shield thrust, it looked like you were just punching the monster in the face. And of course, having the weapon change between the two different forms, Force, Edge, and Elastor, was of course also really cool, and this definitely was a weapon I used for quite some time. So it's fair to say, World has given us some fantastic collaborations. But then of course we throw it over to Generations. There were also sort of like an amalgamation of quite a few over-the-top anime collaborations. If you guys remember this trailer here, this of course showed off quite a few different things from some notable series. We had things from Baki, from Fairy Tail, and this one here was one of my personal favorites. It was an armor set for the Palico, was the Yowamushi pedal. Honestly, this one, just seeing it run around the field was hilarious. Seeing your Palico push after this sort of inflatable figure on a bike. I haven't actually seen the series it's from, but the actual collaboration was just hilarious. And some of these ones also had some rather interesting weapons, but this just goes to show some of the sort of range of interesting collaborations we had in the past. Although I will say, when it comes to anime collaborations, I do understand they are quite difficult to do, hence why games like Jump Force, as much as it might not have been everyone's favourite, was a sort of logistical marvel, because trying to sort of get all those franchises into one game can be quite tricky. Of course, in addition to this, we also had the Horizon collaboration, which again was another fantastic one, giving us the Aloy armor set, giving us the bow, and of course later on expanding that to other characters, and of course also the light bowgun. Admittedly, not a unique creature for this one, but given that of course Horizon has always been seen as like a monster hunting style game, or has clearly taken inspiration from Monster Hunter, it was always nice to see Aloy make her way over to this franchise. But for the time being, that is pretty much it. Those are a highlight, in my opinion, of some of the best collaborations we have had to date. Obviously, there were more collaborations. This was definitely not an exhaustive list, and I would love to hear some of your favorites in the comments down below. Maybe there are even some awesome collaborations from games like Frontier that I sadly didn't have a chance to play. Honestly, if you experienced them, definitely let me know. But for the time being, that's a little look at some of the best collaborations, in my opinion, that we have had in Monster Hunter to date. Hopefully, Sunbreak does still bring some. Of course, if you think about the Rise life cycle, to begin with, there weren't necessarily too many, and then towards the end of Rise, they did start to roll them out. So maybe Sunbreak has some things up its sleeve, but for the time being, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you missed some of the recent videos, be sure to check out one of these ones and keep it locked for plenty more.